Hey guys, here's a look at all the non-tube stuff that I picked up recently. Let's see, first up, here's that ridiculous 1000-watt light bulb. Filament looks to be in excellent condition, so this may never have been used. I'm not sure exactly what kind of fixture this would go into. That's certainly larger than a normal light bulb base. I guess this must take around 8 amps. One thing I thought was kind of interesting is the printing on the top there. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it says 1000 watts, GE, and so on. The printing's on the inside of the glass, which I've never seen before. I'm not quite sure how they managed that, but certainly prevents it from getting washed off when you clean the glass. Let's see. Oh, I also got this nice vintage glass bottle. It says poison. I guess it had hydrochloric acid in it originally. Fortunately, I've not been able to work the ground glass stopper loose yet, but keep slowly working at it. But regardless, I just thought it was kind of a neat looking bottle. These, I think, are connectors for batteries and like vintage portable radios. I also worked on a Motorola TV a while back that used these for the yoke connector. This, or I should say these, are candy stripe resistors. They can take, I guess it is just one resistor. Odd separation in the middle. These are used in TVs, sometimes for the high voltage divider, like for the focus on a color TV. They're also used in high voltage probes to dramatically cut down the voltage. Like I've got a meter that can do up to 40,000 volts. Well, there's a huge resistor that cuts it down to probably something like 4 volts before applying it to the actual meter. So it's 999 mega ohms plus minus 1%. So I'm sure this was for a meter. So if you use 999 mega ohms and then a 1 mega ohm resistor, I think they're like a 1000 to 1 divider to cut the voltage down. Not sure what's in here. I think there's strain reliefs, some miscellaneous hardware. Yeah, these would like clip over an AC cord, and you snap this down onto the wire, and then you stick it into a hole in your cabinet, and it'll prevent the wire from getting pulled out. So you see receptacles. Fuse holder. I got a ton of power resistors. Here's just a sample, but I got a whole lot more over here. Now, unlike carbon composition resistors, which typically go up in value with age, sometimes a good 20, 30, 50% off when I've tested them in sets like from the 40s, these are wire wound resistors, and they should hold their value fairly well. I pulled out my multimeter here so I can do a little spot checking. Let's see if I can get these guys out. Okay, this is supposed to be... Oh, that's annoying. I don't see the value marked on there. It's on the box. Oh, 2 ohm resistors. No, I'm not going to test that. I know my meter isn't that accurate. Low end. Here we go. 20K 5 watt. Let's try these guys. The way these are made is there's a ceramic tube, and they wind a special type of wire around it, and that wire has a certain amount of resistance per inch. And that's why they don't drift off in value. It's literally a metal alloy that has an inherent resistance to it. Carbon composition drift off, I think, as moisture gets in there, or the actual carbon compound starts to break down. Alright, let's see. Yeah, not bad. It's supposed to be 20K, 19.6, let's say. Not bad at all. These true ohm guys here. That vitreous enamel, that refers to this coating, which is really nice. It's like an oven-fired ceramic type coating. They hold up really well over time. There's another type, like sand, I think they're sand power resistors, where they literally looks like a cement sand coating on top of the wire, and those are really nasty. Those tend to disintegrate over time. Alright, put down the camera while I open these boxes. Okay, this guy's supposed to be 6 kilo ohms. Let's see what we get. Alright, can't beat that. 5.96. And here's one of these mem cores. There's just one resistor in each box. 10K at 25 watts. It's nice to get useful values. 10K is a very common value. 6K, not so much. 9.9K, alright, like I was hoping. These resistors all seem to be well within tolerance. Got some potentiometers. Haven't opened up these boxes yet, but here's some that were loose. These are some of the best potentiometers that were ever made. Made by the Allen Bradley Company, Type J, and there's also a Type AB. Really, really high quality. I think they're military spec potentiometers. Some Mallory, that's a good brand. Oh, that's a resistor. Okay. With an adjustable tap on it. You might see these in radios to develop the bias, like the negative grid bias, where this would be on usually between the filter caps and the chassis to provide like a negative 20 or so volts, so that there's actually a lower potential than ground to bias the tubes. Alright, well, it certainly says precision potentiometer, so let's see what's in there. 125K linear, also 125K linear. Boy, it sure was packed well. It was inside a sealed plastic bag, and then that was wrapped in this material, which I believe is called Excelsior, which is an old type of padding. I think it's made from some type of wood pulp or something like that. But it's not what I expected inside. It's not a normal potentiometer. This is a precision, probably a 10-turn potentiometer. These would be used in test equipment usually for making really precise adjustments to like the output level. Maybe an RF generator. What is this? Oh yeah, 10-turn precision potentiometer. Strange letter inside there. 1963. Goes on about due to inconsistencies encountered in colors shading the diallyl phthalate FS-5 maroon compound, our suppliers discontinued this color. I guess they're going to be green, so I guess for whatever reason the plastic formulation to make this nice maroon color isn't working out too well anymore, so they're going to start making them in green. Let's see, I got some of these guys. These are insulating bases for mounting twist lock capacitors. When, for example, if the capacitor body, metal bodies, is the negative side of the capacitor, but if you don't want that to make electrical contact with the chassis you're going to mount it on, you slip one of these in between. These are high voltage rectifier diodes. ITT, made in Germany. TV 6.5, 6K50, so perhaps these are 6,500 volt diodes. Basically, they can replace. Let's see. Here's what I was looking for. It's a standard 1B3 high voltage rectifier. Although these can go up to about 40,000 volts, I believe, but typically in a black and white set from the late 40s, you're going to use around 9,000 volts. And for portable sets, more like 6 or 7. So I guess you could string a couple of these in series to double the voltage handling capability. This I just found lying loose and all that stuff. This is a dial scale from, I think, from a Freshman radio, or maybe a piece of test equipment like an RF generator. Jazz Freshman Co. Incorporated. Goes 0 to 100, so it's not like an AM dial that goes 550 to 1600 or so. But I think on really early radios, they didn't have station frequency designators. They just had several dials that went 0 to 100. And you would just rotate the dials and try to find the station you're looking for, I guess. This is a brightener. I would never use one of these, but I wanted it because if I encounter sensitive damaged bases on the CRT, I can replace it with this guy. I'll just remove this yellow part. What these do is they step up the filament voltage to the CRT. There's like an auto transformer in here. Normally there'd be 6.3 volts going to the filament. This will step it up to like 7.5 or maybe 8.5 volts. Sure, it'll give you a brighter picture, but it'll also accelerate the demise of your picture tube, so that's why I don't use these. If a tube's really getting weak, I try to rejuvenate it once, and you get what you get. But yeah, like I said, this will accelerate the tubes burning out, so I really don't see much point in using them. This is a desoldering tool, or I guess more appropriately, desoldering tool. I picked one up recently on eBay that was working fairly well for me, but what the heck, this seems to be new sealed in the package, so I'll pop this out and give it a try. The action on this is pretty nice, so I'm going to have to take this into my workshop and give it a try. The way these work is you push the plunger down, there's a spring in there, and when you push this button, it creates a vacuum, pretty strong vacuum at this tip, and it sucks molten solder in. This tip is made out of Teflon, so it won't melt. And then there's a chamber inside that collects the solder that you periodically clean out. So you heat up your joint, you position this over it, and you push this yellow button and it sucks up the solder. Here's all the advertising blurb. So, no stick Teflon spout, self-cleans with each vacuum cycle. There's internal solder traps, extra large vacuum chamber, multi-action plunger system, blah blah blah. Fast one-hand operation. Well, I guess you can do this. It's a little hard to cock with just one hand, but once it is, you can certainly just push the button with one hand easily enough. Used in home and industry throughout the world. Let's see. Oh, I see. They suggest you cock it. That is how they suggest you cock it. Alright, cool. Got a lot of info about cleaning it out too. It's good to know. These do get clogged up with solder eventually. Alright, moving on. This bag I think has some goodies. I've not had a chance to look through it too thoroughly, but these guys are TV matching balins or balance. I guess it's balun because it's short for balanced, unbalanced, so balun I think is a pretty correct pronunciation. So these will go from a 75 ohm source to 300 ohms for your TV antenna input. These guys are what I thought were cool though. What these are AC plugs, and there's a built-in fuse holder on either side. So if you want to retrofit something and add fuses to it, you don't have to modify the chassis or anything. You can just use one of these AC plugs. A whole bunch of them. Also got a few chicken head knobs. Nothing too exciting, but I especially want to get the white ones. I think I have a couple items that use white knobs, and I might be missing one or two. It's like a black, brown, and white. Underneath these knobs is, I think, the best book I got. Picked up a few books. There were lots and lots of books there, but they were all so wet and so nasty. I just didn't want to deal with them. But this is a good book. Milton Kiver wrote several books in the 50s on TV repair and servicing, and a lot of good info in here. I've been asked now and then, how do I know about how to fix old TVs and radios? Did my father teach me, or grandfather, or anything like that? No, not at all. Everything I know came from reading a lot of books and a lot of magazines, everything I can get my hands on, and reading all the forums online, following other guys' projects, watching YouTube videos, and of course, just doing it, practical experience. Also got this radio troubleshooting guidebook, put out by a Ryder company. Same company that made all those TV service manuals, those gigantic books that I got from the same place. RCA receiving tube manual, excellent receiving tube manual. I've got a slightly older edition that I use all the time. Unfortunately, it's split in half on page 300. But I suppose I can tape up that binding. Otherwise, it's in pretty good shape. I think, let's see. There were many editions of this. I think they came out with a new edition every year. This is the 59 edition. It's got older tubes in it, but there's just minimal information. Like 26, 27 tubes. They just give you a little bit of blur, but it does give you the pinout, and it's got some info, so that's nice. And then of course it's got all the 50s era tubes. And here's the book I showed earlier that got all wet. I did dry it out. It worked fairly well. Pages are still a little crinkly, and there was some bleed through. There's so many colored pictures in here. There's a lot of ink, and some of it bled through, like some of the reds over here. But I think only 1 or 2 pages stuck together. What I did was I carefully peeled apart all the pages while they were wet, and then kind of stood this on its side and blew some warm air out of a space heater set on low. I suppose I can put some weight on that and flatten it down. I have never worked on a vintage color TV. They're kind of hard to find. I haven't seen one for sale in a while. Plus they're big and I just don't have the room for it. But someday I really want to. And a book like this I think will be very handy to have. Look to be fairly complicated beasts, but I gotta give it a try someday. I found a copy of Windows 98 second edition with the serial key. Don't know if I'll ever put Windows 98 on a computer again, but I'll hang on to this just in case I ever do. Let's see. This box I actually got a little while ago on eBay, but I thought I'd talk about it in this video. Miscellaneous junk, some grid caps go on the tops of tubes, a lot of grommets and such. But this is what I really wanted it for. These clips. I had no idea what these were until recently. I don't even remember how I found out. It might have been on a YouTube video or somebody just happened to post about it. I'm not sure, but I'll show you what these are for. What these are for is to clip on to the screw terminals on the set. So on either side of this you can run your signal into it, and boink. These little jaws here fit underneath the screws. Kind of a neat little thing to have. Also found this elapsed time meter. Unfortunately some water got underneath the glass plate here, and it seems to be some type of mildew or something in there, but maybe it can be cleaned off. It says 60 cycles, 110 to 125 volts, and there's 2 connectors in the back, so I assume you hook up right to the AC line and the counter starts counting. Don't know how you reset it though. There's no button or anything. But maybe you turn these screws. I don't know. Finally, got some flybacks. These things were soaked. I also put these under the space heater and took a couple days to dry them out. So far I've only looked at one of them, and that's the one that was just really falling apart. Or the box was falling apart, I should say. I think the flyback's okay, just a bit rusty. This is a pretty monstrous one. I'm guessing this is for a color set. Color sets take a lot higher voltage than black and white sets, like 25,000 or so volts. This seems to be pretty hefty, and that's a big oddball connector. I think the rectifier tube might fit directly into it, something like that. Not sure. And this would go to your horizontal output tube, I imagine. And these would be the filament wires for the rectifier tube. I think it's in good shape. The insulation around the secondary winding is certainly intact, so often this stuff starts to disintegrate. And it does have a part number, that's good. I got some others a while back and there's no numbers on them or anything, so I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to make use of them. Oh, there's some paperwork in here. Maybe that's just padding. Yeah, it's just padding. Oh well. Usually there's some paper in there. Shows you how to hook it up and so on, but oh well. This is a Helderson. Oh, good, there's a number on there. So I wrote it on pen. Hopefully that's right. A8248. Plus this is HO198. I think that's the numbers that Thordarson used. Or maybe Merritt. Let's see. It should be in decent shape. Good. Ah, there's a label. Good. It's for Helicrafters. This is the typical size you'd see for black and white sets. You can see quite a bit smaller than this guy. Looks to be in very nice condition. Maybe not so much. This base cracked a bit, but well, otherwise, the wires look to be intact. I do actually have a flyback tester. It applies, I think, like 15 kilohertz or so signal to the primary, and then has a special circuit that can detect if there's any open windings or if there are any shorted turns. This says it's for General Electric, but this that little piece here said Helicrafters. I'll take a closer look to make sure all this stuff is matched up right. Somebody may have reused the box. This is GE. Maybe that piece of paper was originally in here. That's in very good condition. All those turns of wire. Can imagine these are fairly delicate. That's just a wax donut on the outside protecting those thousands of turns of wire. Cool. I've been lucky in that I've yet to find a burned out flyback, but it certainly happens. And that set I showed recently, that Bakelite 22x12 I think it was, where somebody had soldered a wire across the fuse holder. That one's got me a little bit worried, because what that fuse is for is the tube that drives this guy. And if there's excessive current, the primary burns out, and there you go. These are hard to find because, well, not only is this stuff old, but there were so many different TV models. And quite often they all used a different flyback. So as you can imagine, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different flybacks. It's not quite as hard to find flybacks for mid-50s and onward sets because the designs got more standardized and there are universal replacements that work in a wide range of sets. But when you talk about the 40s, there were quite a few differences between manufacturers. This is for a month. Muntz made the cheapest TVs. I guess Mr. Muntz was kind of a madman. I think that was his nickname, Madman Muntz. And he pared down his sets to the bare bones. Absolute minimum component count. Sometimes I think only like 2 stages of IF amplification, whereas better sets had more like 4 stages. Which meant that if you were in a weak signal area, the set wasn't going to work too well. I've never even seen one up close, but I do see them for sale now and then on eBay. I've also seen some guys restore them and post photos, and they are kind of funny looking. Big chassis with almost no parts on them. Pretty sizable flyback, jeez. Big metal base on it. Huh, built-in fuse hole. A bit rusty. Otherwise looks to be in decent condition. Probably end up selling all these because I know none of these will work in any of the sets I've got, and there's no sense in me just hoarding all this stuff. I guess that is it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video.